friends, and welcome back into my studio. If you are new here, my name is Tammy Ernest and I am a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own personal projects. So I am wearing one of my new t-shirts. Again, I showed you my first one last week and just thought this week I'd go ahead and wear the second one. This comes from Fancy That Design House. My husband surprised me by ordering 2 t-shirts for me, and I just love it. This one, I love the color. This is just perfect for me. I love the flowers on the front, and then it says, "It is well with my soul," around the outside. A wonderful hymn. I did have in the comments last week, you didn't tell us what your favorite hymn was. Actually, my favorite hymn is "What a Friend We Have in Jesus," and so that's what my kids sang to me for my Mother's Day gift. But loving my t-shirts. I haven't placed my order yet. I want to get one of the phone cases. If you've seen any of Stephanie's designs and her artwork and her fabrics, wouldn't that be pretty on the back of my phone? So I do need to place my order. Just a second. So I do need to place my order for that. I just haven't had a chance to do that. But speaking of mail, I was hoping to have my my Sew Sampler box to show you today. It hasn't quite gotten here yet, so I needed to go ahead and film anyway, so I'll show that one next week and share that with you. But I did get some other happy mail in the mail and thought I would share this. Katrina sent me this, and I appreciate this so much. I did not know this was coming, and it's always fun to go to the post office box and get packages. But Katrina sent me just these little gifts, and I appreciate it so much. So she sent me the Plum Street Samplers pattern Happy Day. And it's got what looks like the red poppies on there and a bunny, and then it has a flag on there. So it's about time to start the patriotic stitching. And I got, hold on a second, I got a new project bag to show you too. So I've had this for a while, but since I got a patriotic pattern, I just thought I would show you. I did get a new project bag. This I ordered from Goose. She's on Etsy, and love her project bags. This is some patriotic fabric Teresa Kogut designed, and so this will be perfect to put my patriotic stitching in, and this will be a wonderful addition. So excited. Thank you, Katrina, for that pattern. I love it. I love it. So excited to get started on that. And also in the little package she included, let me pull this out. This is a little charm from 5 Times Blessed, and if you've ever seen any of her products on Etsy, they're very cute as well. Let me pull this out here. So this is a little charm that you can put on like a zipper pull, which is what I like to do. I'll be putting that on some project bags. So this isn't a floss tube, but just thought I'd share some happy mail that came. So 5 Times Blessed on Etsy, if you are interested in some of that. Isn't that cute? I'll have to find a nice spring bag to put those on. So very, very fun. Katrina, thank you so much. I do appreciate your sharing some gifts with me. It's very special of you to do that. And then this one totally surprised me as well. Probably somebody from watching my video last week, and I showed in the white pins that I used to pin on the long arm. And this showed up, I was going to say unanimous. That's not the right word. Anonymous, that they sent me the magic pins that are for the long arm, which I use magic pins a lot in my sewing room upstairs when I'm doing piecing. So I'm very familiar with magic pins. And these are heat resistant, which I don't, I wouldn't have to worry about that on the long arm necessarily, but comfort grip handles. They are nice long pins, and they're super thin. So I would say these are thinner than the big pearl pins, but I appreciate that. If this was you that sent this to me, I appreciate it so much. Very fun to get packages in the mail. So thank you so much for your generosity. It's always fun to receive packages in the mail, and I just appreciate it. I appreciate your generosity in sharing those things with me. I also wanted to share that today my video is being sponsored by Craftsy. Craftsy is for those who want to continue to increase their skills. They have over 2,000 classes that you can take, classes that are in knitting or crocheting or quilting, sewing, drawing, cooking, baking, cake decorating, so many classes. Last night I was on there and I was watching a class in the quilting category that was all about using vintage textiles. So handkerchiefs, old pillowcases, how to clean those up. It was very interesting to see how you can clean those, how you can use those either in quilting projects or in other collage type of quilting, how to dye some of those. It was a very fun class. So many quilting classes, which I know you would be interested in. Some of the top names in quilting that you would recognize teach classes on there. Angela Walters, Natalie Bonner, those are ones that would teach quilting classes. If you're wanting to learn to finish your own quilts, those would be great classes to take. Other top names that you would recognize: Amy Smart, Marty Mitchell, Anna Maria Horner. Great people to learn from. So if you're a person that wants to continue to build your skills, you're wanting to find some inspiration, you're wanting to learn something new, Craftsy is a great place to do all that. So as sponsoring my video today, they have offered the first 1,000 subscribers that click the link below, you will get Craftsy Premium membership for 1 year for only $1.49. I cannot believe that. That is a great deal. Now this does apply to new members only. So if you are not a member of Craftsy and you've been looking at it, thinking about it, or my description of it here has just inspired you, you'll want to click the link below and you'll get to learn all of these things. So much fun. Maybe you're wanting to learn AccuQuilt. I saw lots of classes on there about AccuQuilt. Maybe you've been a quilter for a while, but someone's asking you to make a t-shirt quilt. There's classes on there learning about making a t-shirt quilt. Maybe quilted gifts or travel organizers, or maybe you need help with applique or working with wedge pieces, things like that. These were all classes that I have found on Craftsy, and you'll want to take a look at that. So click the link down below. First 1,000 of my subscribers who click that will get a great deal on 1 year membership, the premium membership even. So you'll want to do that. I appreciate Craftsy sponsoring my video today. And the rest of this video is going to be all about customer quilts. I'm going to pack some in here. Hope you find some inspiration here as well. Wonderful quilters in the quilting community. You all are amazing. So check out these customer quilts. Donna sent me 2 quilts. This first one is the Edyta Sitar quilt, birthday quilt from last year. So last year, Laundry Basket Quilts put out 1 birthday block a week for, I think it was 55 blocks in 52 weeks. So her birthday year, or big birthday, I don't understand. I didn't look up the whole reasoning, but to celebrate Edyta Sitar's birthday. So 55 blocks, and you can see all of the different ones. Now Donna has done these all in blues and creams from Laundry Basket Quilts. Our Laundry Basket does have a new line coming out this July. Very similar colorways, all the blues and the creams. This one is called Sewing Bird, so you'll want to watch for that. I have linked it down below if you want to get in on to be first to be notified when it does arrive. But love the blues, some a little darker, some a little lighter, a couple little tan colors in there. This is done in long rows, so you can see the sashing is vertical, and most of the blocks could go any direction, but there are some heart blocks in a couple places on the quilt, so that is why I know that it's done vertically. There's a basket block too, but most of the others could be put any direction, but I can tell by the way the hearts are oriented that this was done in vertical rows. You have vertical sashing, and then you have a sashing on the top, or a border on the top and the bottom. So notice that the vertical sashing in between each of the rows is the same as this outside border, and then a different border was added at the top and the bottom. So all different blocks. This would be a great skill builder. The instructions for these blocks are still on Laundry Basket Quilts website and her blog, and so I'll link that down below if you'd like to look at it. I've linked the first block, but if you go to her blog, it shows each one of the blocks. It says, you know, block 55 or block 33 or whatever. So great skill builder if you are newer to quilting, or just a great challenge to use up your scraps. You can do it in a couple, do it in one colorway like this is, and the blues and the creams are very scrappy, however you would like to do it. The backing fabric, very pretty. This is, I believe this is a Laundry Basket Quilts backing as well. I didn't pull, I'll link it down below. The selvage is over there and I didn't look at it beforehand. So a creamy color, the flowers that are on here, very dainty, kind of a blue or kind of a taupey yellow mustardy color on there. So very, very pretty, like that. Then the pantograph that Donna chose on this one is Moulin Rouge. And I did this in the Omni Cream color. So Moulin Rouge, I just love this pantograph, very soft, very swirly. This one different from espresso, where I've talked about before, where espresso will cross over itself so you get the ribbon effect. This one doesn't do that, but very some of the same features, but without those tight swirls, and so a little chunkier. You do have the paisley print, and then that is echoed on itself. It does a swirl, a little bit of a circle on that one. Some paisleys, so a swirl here with almost like the feather motif on the back of the swirl, and then a swirl here with a little circle. Very soft. It just softens up this whole quilt, keeps it just a very classy looking quilt. The size of this one is 70 by 72, and again, it's a free blocks, so you could go check those out and put together your own quilt. So very beautiful. Donna's second quilt is this very intriguing pattern called Labyrinth Walk. This is a quilt by the Guilty Quilter, which is Christopher Florence, and there's a copy of that pattern front. This is just 2 blocks. This is one of those quilts that when you're in close, you just see fabrics, and not until you pull away from it can you see the depth that's created with the shadows of just using color in a quilt. Love this design. It's very intriguing. It looks like a labyrinth, like it says. Kind of reminds me of the old, did you ever play that mouse game on a computer where you are the mouse in the maze and you have to find your way out, but you're seeing it from the mouse eye view? That's what this reminds me of. Like you could just dip your hand right down in there. It's just very intriguing. But just 2 blocks, but very large blocks. You can see how one of these, that's a good 24-inch block maybe. Let me see. The pattern measures 79 by 79. And there's only 3 blocks across, so at least probably we've got a pretty good border. No, I would say it's those are probably 24-inch blocks, like I thought. Okay, so the Hoffman Batiks is what she used for the fabrics. You can see the lighter blue, the more royal blue, a very, very dark blue. It almost looks black, but that's really just a very, very dark blue. The white is more of a very, very soft blue tint to that white, and then it's all in the piecing. Nothing difficult. It really looks like half square triangles, easy corner triangles, very small, very thin sashing that you're creating, but then the way it's laid out is how you get that whole design. Very, very neat. All right, the backing fabric. This is a Windham fabric. I like this addition on here. So it was pieced across the middle, so you can see just a little bit of a darker print across the middle, and then just the whole spatial theme. I like that, the colors of it. You're adding in some purples and things that weren't on the front, but I just really, really like that. For the pantograph, I have done several of these quilts, and so I had sent Donna a couple pictures of different pantographs I'd done on different ones, and this is one that I had done on a different Labyrinth quilt, and she said that's the one I want. So this is called Merge, and this is a pattern done by the Longarm League, Jess Ziegler of Longarm League, and so lots and lots of texture. I really like this one. So lots of nice tight lines, and they're done like you'll come down. I don't know how well you can see that. You'll come down, you'll do a little slanted line, come back up. It does like a little jog in there, a little slanted line at the top. And so your stitching line is kind of in a zigzag, and then these other lines from the next row really nest up nicely inside there. But the tops of them are kind of a zigzag, not a zigzag, they're a slanted line. And so where one is coming down like this, the one underneath it is like this. So they fit up nicely together. I did use the Omni light gray thread on this one, blends great with the blue fabrics. Really looks nice. I did, when this was pulled into Pro Stitcher, I kept it the same size that it is. I don't think you could go any smaller. It's very tight the way it is. I mean, the width between the lines is less than my pinky. So very tight lines. You could probably make it larger. Again, I would just watch it on your throat space, whether you have enough throat space to do that entire pass, because it's a pretty large design, but it gives lovely, lovely texture. Great on this quilt where we already have some diagonal lines, really emphasizing the straightness. I know this is for a man, so keeps it masculine, but I think this quilt really, whoever it was for, really would benefit from some straight lines or some. I know another one that I did, we did more squares on it. This one, this quilt top, I really don't feel anything floral. You could do circular. I think even on the pattern it shows some, I don't know how well you can see that. The quilting on that is more custom quilting where they've done circles very tight inside the lines, and I think that's very, very nice. But just as an overall pattern, I really like the straight lines, really just to complement the straight lines are there. Anything just floral or anything is not going to go with this quilt. It's a modern looking pattern. We need to keep with a modern looking pantograph, I believe. So 79 by 79, very beautiful quilt. I just love the depth of this one. And again, this is going to be absolutely beautiful, laid on a bed, displayed on the wall, not folded up on a shelf. It's just not going to do it justice. It really needs to be out where everyone can see that full design of it. Just beautiful. Great job, Donna. You did a wonderful job. I have two quilts to share with you that Cynthia sent to me. This first one measures 41 by 41. It is a baby quilt. This is D is for Dream quilt kit that she purchased on an Etsy site called Artistry with Fabric. This was a kit that was done by Moda, from what I understand. I do see that some of this fabric is still available, but I don't see the exact pattern. So love the prints on this. Very soft nursery type feel. You have some little bears. It says D is for Dream on here. My little star, little blue bears, little brown ones. There are some moons and some stars as well. Very soft palette with the grays and the yellows and the blues. Very pretty. So the pattern itself, I can see a nice square here. This one is some smaller ones. Here's a rectangle, two smaller ones with a rectangle that direction, two small ones with a rectangle that direction. So it looks like in every row you have 3 of these blocks that are sharing the 2 with the rectangle, just turn different directions. And then every row has one solid square as well, and that is always this moon and star print. So 4 rows by 4. So 16 blocks total. There is white sashing in between those. And then on the outside edge, you have this light gray striped border, and she's done a nice job of orienting that each direction so it's always facing in towards the quilt. Okay, and then the last border on the outside edge is kind of a polka dot. They are a little not totally round, so very cute. On the backing, it has this same blueprint with the bears on it. She did ask me to piece this backing, and I just got to show you this because I'm super proud of it. So this backing, while I could have just pieced it, I tried to do a very nice job and actually match up the bears, and I think I got it. I was so excited. So how did I do that? Really what I did is I laid the two pieces. She had it in two pieces. I couldn't just sew them straight down because that was not going to match up those. I had enough fabric to match up with the two pieces. So not always can you match the prints on the back just because you may not have enough fabric. She did send me enough, and I actually had to offset it like this. One, just where they hit on the fabric line, I had to offset it like this. But what I did is I laid them together first, and I actually did pins that were running vertically, not, how do I want to say that? They were running parallel to the seam that I was going to be stitching, and I actually put the pins right where I wanted that seam. And so when I started down, I was removing those pins as it was moving through my sewing machine. Instead of usually having my pins perpendicular and pulling them out, I put the pins exactly where I wanted my stitching line to go, and still with the hope that I hope it works, and it did. I'm sure there's a better method. I don't know. I'm sure there's videos out there and things on how to get that perfect, but I was super excited that it worked. So then the pantograph on this one is called Double Bubble. A very fun print. I do have a small printout of that one that Cynthia sent. She just printed it off my website and circled the one she wanted. So you can see it's done in a wave, and then you have smaller bubbles inside of larger bubbles. And that was actually, I believe, yeah, that was, she also sent me a photo of the pattern cover, and you can see the name of the Etsy shop that she purchased her quilt on. I was not able to find that, but, or purchased her kit on, and that is called artistrywithfabric.etsy.com. You can see that down below. But the quilt on the cover showed the double bubble pantograph. And again, when a client sends me this, then I use that as my guide on how big to make the pantograph, because they've already seen it in a picture and that's what they like. And so I try to get that same size on this one. So the bubble right here that has the 2 in it, it's about the size of the end of my fist. But how I can measure that is I look at the blocks on the pattern here and see about how the size of that circle fits in that block, and then I tried to match that on here. So done in the wave, and then you have some of the bubbles that have 2 bubbles, one inside the other, others just a single bubble, but it's done in a wave, and then those bubbles come off either side of it. I did use the Omni natural white thread. You have white background fabric, and that's what blended very nicely. So, and blended on the back, I used a white bobbin as well. So the final quilt measures 41 by 41, and it's just beautiful. And Cynthia's second quilt is called Star Pop 2. This was also a quilt kit. This was done by Emily Dennis, which is Quilty Love. She has done this pattern a couple different times. There is a Star Pop original version, and then there's a Star Pop 2. And I will link down below. There is on her website, it talks all about the low volume version that she did. And I know that Cynthia bought that as a kit from her. So, says fast and easy friendly star pattern. It's nice and scrappy, so it works well with fat quarters, quarter yards, fat eighths, or layer cakes also. Beginner friendly, and it's constructed in a way where you won't lose any of your star points, which is really nice. So you can see the stars in the center here. Low volume, so the background fabric is not one solid fabric. These are squares, and this one has like a paint splattering. This one is a little more of a creamy color, and it has some little flowers on it, some polka dots with different colors, stars with different colors. So all different low volume prints in the background. Now you'll also notice on Emily Dennis's website that she's done this the opposite way, where the stars are light and then the background colors are darker, but all different colored squares. So a really nice feature. And then notice on the edges of the quilt, the stars like go off the edges of the quilt, which is really cute. So the size of this one is, this is 60 by 60. The backing fabric on this one, this is a light, like a slate blue, and it does have some copper colored stars on this, on the back, and this is called Spark in Frost, and if I can find that, I will link that down below. So the pantograph on this one, she asked for arches. Arches was a new pantograph to me. This is an Anne Bright design, and that was what also was on the photos that she sent. So again, I tried to make this one using the size that I see in this picture on the quilt top. I love, love, love the texture on this one. You can see all of that texture. So the arches are very tight, and that's what was on the picture. So I did it as much like that as I could. So you have arches, some that are upside down, some that are to the left, some that are, so these arches, the arch itself, I guess, is down, so more like a U shape. Here the arch is to the right, here the arch is on the top, here the arch is on the left, and it stitches out different directions like that. Much kind of like a block type of moving across, but if you separate your rows so that you have the same distance between the rows as about the same size that you have within these arches, then it's very hard to see where one row starts and the next one stops. One of the things that Cynthia asked for is, she says, because on my intake forms or my order form here, I do ask for thread. Would you like a neutral color thread to match the quilt top, or would you like a colored thread? And then I ask for your suggestions. So Cynthia asked, please pick for the top and maybe a blue to match the backing. What you think best, and thank you. So normally I don't like to put a different color on the back. I normally like to use the same color, at least the very similar tone in the top thread and in the bobbin thread. Because if there's any tension issues, you're going to see. So if I use two different colors, then especially on a white like this, if I use a darker color on the back, you may see little pinpricks of that color pop through to the top, or the same thing on the back. You may see little bits of this white pop through on the back side. So I did a little test run. I did the first little bit of the row, and I did white on the top, the Omni Natural White, and I actually put beach grass in the back, and beach grass is also an Omni thread, very similar color to this. And as I did that first little section, I'm like, okay, I think my tension is okay on this one. It's going to work. And so I did the whole quilt that way. So white on the top and the beach grass on the back. And I think sometimes whether the tension can also be an issue of the pantograph. So there's so many factors that go into it. I mean, it could be needle, it could be the bobbin thread, the top thread. It could be the thickness of the fabric. But I've been doing this long enough. I really feel that some pantographs cause a little more trouble with tension. There's some that just seem to pull a little tighter, and I don't know the reasoning behind that. I don't design pantographs. Don't know all the technology that goes into that, so I don't really understand that. But this one was very smooth. I didn't have any pulling in the corners or anything. And so I feel like, I mean, if you really studied this, you might be able to see a little bit of the blue. But overall, I don't think it's noticeable. And because these background fabrics are also low volume, you do have a little bit of color in them, some X's, some rainbows in them, some polka dots, some of that paint splatter, that I think even if it's a little bit of color, it's not going to be so noticeable. So I was so happy the way it turned out. I loved the beach grass color on the back, and I think it would have looked fine with white as well, but this really keeps it kind of like a whole cloth quilt because you've got the same color. You're just creating all of that texture, and I think you can really see that pantograph. Now, I know some of you are not going to like how tight this is, and that's the wonderful thing about quilting. You don't have to do it like everybody else. If you prefer your pantographs to be wide open, spacious, lots of room so you can really feel the fabrics in there, that's great, and that's what you need to do. That's what makes you happy. And I will do that for clients. If they tell me I want it very large, you know, you tell me that in your intake form, and I'll make it as large as I can and still fit within a throat space there. But Cynthia asked for this one, and I went off the picture that was shown. This is very tight, dense quilting in the picture, and so that's what I went with on her quilt, and I love the texture of it. I think it's just so beautiful and really turned out nice. So that is the Star Pop 2 quilt, and I've linked that down below. I've also linked that Arches pantograph, which is an Anne Bright design. She's got lots of neat designs, a lot of modern type looks, so if you're wanting some new designs, you might look on her website as well. So very nice work, Cynthia. Helen's quilt has a very special story. Now, she says this pattern is Lodge Getaway. The designers are Sarah Maxwell and Dolores Smith. This pattern was originally in a McCalls Quilting Magazine in November, December of 2011. Now, while I don't believe that magazine is still available anymore, I did find on the internet where you can, this is on McCalls Quilting, it's called a web bonus, and this is the Lodge Getaway pattern, but it's in a smaller size. So the instructions here are given for a 54 by 67. Helen's quilt is actually 114 by 114, and I know in the magazine they gave directions for a much larger quilt. Not quite the, I think she's added some extra borders to get the 114, but it was very large. It was, oh, I don't remember now. It was on the website, but I couldn't, it didn't look like the magazine was still available anymore. But you never know. Check with your friends. Those that like to keep things for a long time, they may still have that magazine around. But you can at least get this pattern and make a smaller version, or figure out the measurements to make it much larger. So what makes this quilt so special is that Helen says most of the fabrics are Kansas Trouble, which you can see the greens, the background print here, the borders are all Kansas Trouble fabrics, but she said the flannels that you see in the blocks here, all of these, they are from shirts from her first husband who died in 2000, from a twin baby brother's shirts who died in 2019. They died within 3 months of each other, and one from her present husband. So she's included these shirts. What a great idea, and what a very nice tribute to them. And then she gets to have this on her bed or in the house, and gets to see it often and remember each one. I think that's very, very special. I love to be able to use fabrics like that in a very unique quilt, or to put them into another pattern so that you can enjoy those fabrics. I just think it's very, very pretty. So like I mentioned, this quilt is 114 by 114. It's probably one of the largest quilts I have ever done. It really went, I could go a little, maybe a couple inches bigger, but that would be about it, just because I'm on a 12-foot frame, but your machine can only go so close to the ends of that frame. So this was very large. Now for the pantograph, she wanted Baptist fan, but she wanted it as loose as could be, large and loose, not tight. So typically when I do Baptist fan, I do it the exact same size that it comes in with the program. When I bring it into the program, I just use that size. I like that. So this one I did increase, and you can see the size of the fan. I mean, it's larger than my hand from the top to the bottom, much larger. But the problem you have to be careful of when you are increasing the size of this is that it still fits within your throat space. So I'm on an Amara. It has a 20-inch throat space. So I was able to stitch from here to here. This is one row. Now with Baptist fan, you're stitching this fan, and then you're stitching this fan, and then the next row does the fans that meet up underneath that, okay? So you still have to be able to leave some space on either, on the top and the bottom of this fan, because I've got to be able to line it up with the row above it. So I was only able to do one pass each time that I did it, and then I would have to rotate the quilt. Because the fans, so this fan is here, some patterns that I've shown you, they stitch out in a zigzag where you'll have the motif here and here and here and here, and the next row is the exact same thing, and it's just doing it lower here and here and here and here. Baptist fan is different, and then it's only doing one row of fans at a time. So it's only doing this one, and then only doing this one, and then only doing this one. And then when it comes back the next time, it's doing those fans that reach up underneath there. Let me flip this over to the backing, and I think you'll be able to see it a little bit better. All right, Helen did include a minky backing in her box when she sent it to me. Now this is 114 and 114 by 114, so a 90-inch wide backing or minky, which is the extra large, is not going to be large enough. So we did have to piece the minky. The only trick with piecing minky is that you get the nap going the right direction. So just check that when you're piecing two pieces together. She did send me enough that it was 90 and 90, so we had plenty to work with, but it was a bear to piece that together. But what I wanted to show you was on the back here was the Baptist fan. So it stitches this one, and you can see the line. So it's stitching this one, it comes over, and then it stitches this one back and forth, and then it goes on and does the next one. And then the next row comes in, and it's stitching the one down here. So it's stitching across here. So it's actually the top line, like this top line right here is stitched with these two fans, but it's actually the top line of this fan down here, if you can picture that. So so it stitches this one here back and forth, it comes over and leaves this part blank, and it stitches, and then it comes over and does that one, and again. So your next row starts a little differently. It's going to start so you really have two different rows, an A and a B, and then it's going to stitch the B row, and it stitches this one, comes over and does this, and then it does this little line right here, which is the top line of the next row down, and then it starts over there. So just make sure you give yourself enough room in your throat space. I made this as large as I was comfortable with, be able to still fit within my throat space and still be able to line up the pantograph once I moved it, because I'm going to have to use one of these I usually use a point. I don't like my positioning point, I don't like it to be on a curve. I like it to be somewhere where I've got a sharp, distinct point. So I would usually make this point right here at the bottom of this Baptist fan the point where I mark on my computer with a drag and drop is how I use it. I don't keep the needle into the thread, into the fabric, but I know that that's the spot that I'm at. You can mark it with a pen if you want, but I do it with a drag and drop on my Pro Stitcher, and then I rotate the quilt, and then I line it back up right there to that point. If I line it up somewhere on this curve, I could be off some. A curve is not as easy to line up your pantographs on, so I would line it up right there at that point. So because I'm lining up to a point, I've got to give myself a little bit. The pantograph is going to stitch down here. This is the top line of the pantograph. But I have to be able to pick a spot that I'm going to reorient and get everything lined up again. So just make sure that you leave yourself enough throat space in there, even when you make it larger. And that's with any pantograph, not just not just Baptist fan, but just make sure that any pantograph you're using, when you increase the size of it, that you have enough throat space to realign everything and to stitch it out, that it's not going to hit your bars. So the thread on this one is beige, and let me grab that so you can see that color. All right, so I grabbed that cone so you could see. So this is a beige color. Now just looking at this, it looks like it's a cream, but it's a little bit darker, and I felt that these, this is more of a tannish, I don't even know if that's a word, but not really a cream. It's more of a taupey color. And so here is the cream omni thread, and here is the beige. Do you see just the tad bit darker difference? And so while cream would have worked, I just think with the beige just a tad bit darker, it's going to look cream on the quilt, but I know that it's going to blend a little bit better. So that's beige 3068. I did use cream in the bobbin because you're not going to see that color on the back. If I was doing a if it had a cotton batting or cotton backing where I was going to see the color on the back, I could have wound my own bobbins. I could have used the light tan pre-wound bobbins that I have, one of those two. But with a minky backing, you're not going to see the color of the thread, so I just went with the cream, which is I have more of the cream bobbins than I do of the light tan. So when I'm not going to be worried about what color I'm seeing on the back, I just went with the cream. So there's a difference. Cream is 3004 and beige is 3068. For the batting inside here, we have Quilter's Dream 100% cotton in that one. So beautiful quilt, great tribute, Helen, and I just appreciate so much you sharing the story with us. I have a beautiful quilt from Anne today, and she said this one, she got a pattern from a quilt magazine about 9 years ago and put the border on in 2024, time to finish it. And it's for her daughter. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Every quilt is worth finishing. If you have started something and it's in the closet, pull it out and get it done. It's worth finishing up. So glad that Anne did that. So the middle part here, she said she did many years ago, and then she added borders, and so I'm assuming the border, she's done this square to square border. How nice is that? With the yellow on one side and the purple on the other, and then the blue in the middle. Very nice. And then just a small batik border around the outside edge. So all batiks, very yellow, lime green, some blues in there around the edges. Feels very beachy to me. And so I don't know the name of the pattern, but basically you've got a square inside of a square, but this is all pieced. It's it's actually 9 blocks. So if you can picture, like a 9 patch, but all of them are the same around the outside edge and just the middle one. So darker right here in the center. You can see these 4 blocks right here in the center. We've got the 2 dark ones with the lighter ones, and then these 2 prints, and then around the edges also a little lighter on this side, a little darker on this side. So very, very pretty. All batiks. So on the back is a minky, and this is the mallard color, a very pretty color that goes along with the front. And then you can see the pantograph very easy on this one, I think. This is called Modern Beach Bubbles, and I love this design. On the front, you've got the batiks. You've kind of got that feel of beachy type of feel, or just seaside, I guess, kind of feel. And so the Modern Beach Bubbles, why it does it in waves, back and forth. Every wave has just this little spot where you stop and do these circles. So sometimes it's here, sometimes it's over here, and just a really cute pantograph. So you can see that just has the waves back and forth. Super easy to stitch out, nothing that needs to match up. It just nests in very nicely together, a really nice pantograph. So for the thread on this one, I did use the So Fine celery thread, which is the greenish goldish color. Super nice with this quilt. It just blends very nicely in with that, those colors. I really like that color, and I think it worked really well on those yellows and those greens and everything. It just really blended well. And then on the minky, on the back, the thread color is not seen. It just soaks right into that minky. The batting on this one is Quilter's Dream 80-20. 80-20 means it's 80% cotton, 20% polyester, and that is what's in the middle of that. I do like to use batting with the minky. I think it keeps the minky, gives the minky a little bit of stability. And I love stitching on minky. I think just the tension issues are so much less on minky just because you're giving yourself a bigger target to hit, you know, right in between. It just gives your quilt, besides the softness it provides on the back, it just gives you a little bit extra thickness, and tension has a chance to catch those two threads from the top and from the bobbin. Right in the middle, you're giving yourself a bigger bullseye, and tension just looks really good, really good. So that is Anne's quilt. I did not tell you the measurements on this one are 58 by 58, so it's a square quilt. Very pretty. Anne's quilt measures 92 inches by 92 inches, and she has done all of these orange peels with hand piecing. She's done such a nice job. So you can see the orange peel pattern. Some of them she's done white with black as the background square. Others she's done black with the white as the background square, and then she's thrown in some purples as well. I know she's creating this for a granddaughter, and she said her favorite color is purple. So beautiful job. The squares here, so each one of your orange peel ones, so she's pieced this on the curve, so this is not applique onto here. She has pieced these curved piecings and then put those blocks together. And so the blocks here probably 4 inches, this orange peel shape. Now you can get the orange peel shape using templates. I know Lori Holt has an orange peel shape out, and then you applique those on. But if you want to do it the traditional way, then you can do this beautiful quilt like Anne has done. And this is such a treasure. I mean, this is going to be a family heirloom for many years. So all of the orange peel designs and all different colorways. She says she used many different lines of fabric. This was all scrappy, and she just did a wonderful job putting it all together. And then around the edges, then she did a black border, and then the purple. Isn't that a pretty fabric? And then the purple around the edge. Very pretty. The backing fabric is a wide backing, and this one is called Beautiful Basics. This is done by Maywood Studios. There's just the selvage there, so I'm sure they have lots of colors for that, but beautiful backings, very pretty. And then that will help you see the pantograph. So the pantograph on this one is Dear Heart. Dear Heart does across the quilt, and it does a heart up and a heart down. So you can kind of see like this: heart up, heart down, heart up, heart down, and then it just a slightest little wave connecting those. Now for the thread on this one, Anne did ask that I use a lilac color. I use the Omni 3114, and there is that color. Did that in the bobbin and in the top, and on the back, you know, very light lavender color on that purple. On the top, it really blends in nicely with the purples, and it has like a grayish, I mean, it's lilac, but when you put it on top of these white and black prints, it really gives a kind of a look of a gray color. Very pretty. Now you'll notice in the pantograph also that I made this fairly large. Anne said that she did not, let me tell you her words, not super tight design is what she wanted. So I opened it up. The size of the heart is about fist size, maybe a little bit bigger than that. just so that it's nice and soft. And the size of this quilt, it's really nice just to make the pantograph a little larger, unless you just like the density, and then I would say go smaller. But Dear Heart is a wonderful pantograph because it looks really nice small, like you've seen on some baby quilts perhaps that I've done, where the heart is, you know, very much smaller, but it looks really nice being large too, and it has a lot of nice coverage. You still nest your rows so that you have you're not leaving a great amount of space between the rows, but you've got a lot of nice area inside the heart there. So with the lilac thread and the purple backing and just those hints of purple on the front as well, she's done a really nice job, and this is going to be a great family treasure. This is Sue's beautiful quilt, and she says this pattern is called One Roll Wonder, and that was in the book Big Book of Scrap Quilts by Barbara Groves and Mary Jacobson. Barbara and Mary are actually me and my sister designs, if you've heard of them. And so I was not able to find the Big Book of Scrap Quilts, even on their website. But what I did find is a pattern that looks very, very similar. So I'm assuming this is, they've done, either this came first or the book came, I don't know. But I did find this pattern by Me and My Sister Design, and this one is called Alice Ann. I love Ann spelled with an E. That's how I did my Maggie Ann. Her middle name is spelled with an E. But the only difference in this pattern is you'll notice they've done little embroidery in between the blocks. Now the pattern says you can add names, you could add, you could do little embroidery stitches so that you had flowers or something like that. They suggest using embroidery floss, and they give that in the quilt. But to me, the pattern looks exactly the same, just without the embroidery. So if you like the pattern, you'll want to get a hold of that. Obviously, it's 2.5-inch strips, so you could use a jelly roll. It does say you could use fat quarters to make it a scrappy quilt. Sue says that she used Blue Bonnet Patch by Moda. This was a jelly roll. She purchased it several years at her local quilt store, and I was not able to find that exact one to link down below. But very summery prints, the reds, the blues, the greens, the yellows. It even has the word blue bonnet in some of the fabrics, which is very cute. American flags. So a very summery quilt. And so I think any fabric line, if you like this look, any fabric line that uses those, Camille Roskelley's new line, Summertime, that's come out, would be a great fit for this one. But anything that has those summery colors, the blues, the bright yellows, and all of that. Now she did add one fabric in here that is not in that rest of that line, and that is this print right here, and that's actually the same as on the back. And she said there was a reason that she did that. Let me read this to you. She's creating this for a granddaughter. For her granddaughter's 18th birthday, she will be attending she lives in Texas and will be attending Sam Houston State University in the fall, and the school colors are orange and white, so that's why she picked this backing fabric. This backing fabric is called Posy Meadow, and it is on the selvage, it says craftsy.com, so you'll want to check that out. And then, so for the pattern, you can see we're creating these strips of 2.5-inch strips. You're adding a border on either side, and then the block is turned vertical and horizontal and vertical and horizontal. And so it would be in this white sashing that the pattern is talking about putting embroidery. I could see this could be done very nicely as a signature quilt if that's what you wanted names on there. I think that would work very nicely. If you're trying to incorporate old embroidery, you know, so if you have old handkerchiefs, or you have old embroidery that was done by a family member and you're wanting to incorporate that into a quilt, I think this would be a great one because it would look very similar to this. So if you had old you know, the hand embroidery. I did one several years ago where I made a quilt using some family members that they had given me all of the embroidered pillowcases and other items that were embroidered by a family member, and they wanted to combine them all into a quilt. And so I think this one would work well because that's what this reminded me of when I saw it. You could use those embroidered pieces as those sashing and put it in between the blocks, and then add some other you know, a fabric line that would coordinate with those. Or you can just do it summertime like this. The background fabric that you're seeing, the white, is a solid white, so I'm assuming it's a Bella Solid or a Kona Solid, something to that effect. All right, so for the pantograph, Sue asked that I use Happy Flowers. Not too big, not too small. So here's Happy Flowers. I love this pantograph. Yeah, it has some big flowers, it has some small flowers, but I didn't make this too small, just nice coverage. So here's one of the larger flowers, again about the size of my fist. The smaller ones are smaller than that. Just a meander in between, a little bit of a leaf design right here, but it's a very much, it's a block type of style. It nest up a little bit, but not much. It's more of a block style, but when you repeat it, it gives that nice cohesive design over the entire quilt top. I did use the Omni Natural White. Felt that was the perfect choice with the white background fabrics. Blended nicely, kept it very bright and cheery, and for those summertime look, it blended nicely with the back. With as busy as that backing is, you have to get in close even to see the stitching on the back. So this pantograph can be made smaller if you want it smaller, it could be made larger. It's a really nice coverage as well. So with the different size, now all of the flowers are the same. They're all a 5-petaled flower, but some are large and some are small, and it just gives a nice effect and very summery type of look to this quilt. So her quilt measures 60 by 70, and the pattern here says 60 by 80. I'm sure that's just one more row was added, and that would give you your extra. So if you're needing a larger quilt, I mean, you're just continuing the same pattern, you know, more rows, more in each row, and you can make it whatever size you wanted. So I'll link this one down below, and you can add your favorite fabric and make a beautiful quilt. Thank you for joining me today. I always appreciate spending time with you. If I can be a help of any way, my email is down below. You're welcome to send me an email. If you are in need of longarm quilting services, my information is down below. You can download the longarm prep instructions and order form, and that'll give you all the information that you need. And until next week, I hope you get lots of quilting done, and I will be back because every quilt is worth finishing. We'll see you next week.